I love it. It is the Byron show right after the Aaron show that was last week at the Wyndham Championship. Congratulations to Aaron Ryan, his first W on US soil, many, many, many years before Tommy Fleetwood. So, Ron, what's going on in your life on this fine Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, we're doing well here in the great state of Michigan. And kind of what you said, we talked about on this show many times. If when Aaron Ryan gets that putter going, which he kind of has, if you look last kind of couple months, actually, he's going to be deadly. And kind of got it handed to him a little bit on Sunday, but still, great play by Rye. And it's just amazing to see when you look at any data points going back over the last, even 6 months, like he's right in the middle of all these studs. So it'll be really interesting to see what he can do from here. But yeah, like they're going to be sweating in Memphis this week. I don't know if you've seen the forecast, but I mean, it's like 110-degree heat indexes every round. So, and look, I'm thrilled. They're going to be playing in Colorado at a different course next week, a course in the mountains that I don't know if you checked or I've seen this, but it's over 8,100 yards. So, but I think this week, I think they should just really consider moving this first round to somewhere like the Pacific Northwest or even the Northeast, just somewhere different, somewhere cooler. And so there's just so many great courses in this land of ours. And so I think viewership and interest would even be higher if they did something like that.
Yeah. Who wants to go to Memphis in the middle of summer, and get, I guess the guys are getting paid millions and millions of dollars to do so, but, thoughts and prayers to all the employees over there for the PGA Tour doing their wonderful work down at TPC Southwind this week, where on, like you mentioned, the course conditions look like they're going to be dry, look like they're going to be difficult, firm conditions. So emphasizing the ball strikers this week, right? We're just looking for guys that can keep it in the fairway, knock it close, and not in the water from 125 to 200. And then if you make some putts, you make some putts, but not even necessary to have that kind of a putter this week based off past performances, right?
Yeah. Putting is really easy here. I think a lot of that is you have the third smallest greens on tour, 4,300 square feet. So, the GIR percentage isn't that high, which obviously you would expect that with the green so small. And so there's going to be a good number of around the green shots here. But if you think about it, with greens that small, most of these guys are going to be chipping it pretty close. And so, yeah, when you look at every putting metric from, one putt percentage to all the putting ranges, so much easier here than average. And so, to me, like you said, the water obviously is a big deal. So you have the most water balls here out of any course on tour. And so, yeah, using the rabbit hole, bringing that into it, strokes gained, ball striking on high water danger courses, something I looked at closely. And also, this is, a course with Bermuda rough, and, having played on it and having obviously watched many of these courses on the PGA Tour, it doesn't have to be thick, deep Bermuda rough for it to be, very penal. Just Bermuda rough is very unpredictable as it is with, you're either getting kind of short knucklers when you're trying to approach the green, or you're hitting flyers that are kind of taking off and you just don't know where they're going to end up. And so I think that's when you look at the data, at least from a GIR and birdie or better perspective, there's a massive difference playing from the fairway as opposed to being in that rough. So yeah, I think total driving and being able to find the fairway off the tee is going to be huge this week as well.
Yes. And that, once again brings in a whole bunch of people, because usually we get to these venues where just mashing driver into the rough is still acceptable. And, usually the optimal kind of route for most stereotypical PGA Tour venues. But this week stands the test of time, and it allows us to kind of get a good feel for who the actual best 70 golfers are in this field, not based off of just driving distance. So I think it'll be a fun week to kind of take a peek at that. Like you mentioned with the rabbit hole, got to make sure you can avoid that water, baby, because there's tons and tons of water. All right. Am I correct in knowing that the most amount of water balls have come at this venue on the PGA Tour?
Yeah. So it's like 308 is the average for each tournament here since going back to, I think, 2003. So yeah, it's like, if you're looking at total water balls, it's like 1,000 more than even a course like TPC Sawgrass. So definitely the most.
Yeah, so make sure you got your balls in hand and make sure that you can hit those birdie putts when they're on the green. So let's dive into it, Jaron. We got a 5-person, $10,000 range, starting with Scotty Scheffler at 12.4, rounded out by Colin Morikawa at 10,000 flat. Can't play everyone unless you are Ron Class and want to play all 5 of these guys and just mix and match at the bottom. But who are we not playing this week, Ron, and why?
I don't know about you, but it's getting really hard to figure out who to fade amongst kind of this top 3 every week when we're looking at, Scotty, Xander, and Rory, especially when they're all playing together like they are again this week. And so, I mean, Scotty and Xander have pretty much become threats to win every single week, no matter the course. And this week, I mean, I personally love Rory because, first of all, it's not a major. There's very little pressure this week. He has his trip to East Lake already locked up and can kind of use this week to springboard his points even higher and kind of position himself a little better. And so, I mean, you look at his FedEx Cup history, 6 wins. He's thrived kind of in these playoff type events. Even here at TPC Southwind, he's got 3 top 10s in 3 of the last 6 starts, including 3rd place last year. And just kind of looking a little closer, like you have 12 dogleg holes here. And kind of the trend here, especially with equipment and, the gains all these guys are making off the tee, we've seen driver usage go from 66% back in 2018. And last year it was up to 78%. So obviously Rory's one of those guys who, with his power off the tee, he can kind of cut the corners. And it gives guys like him, I think, a pretty massive edge in getting obviously closer approach shots especially when dealing with the penal Bermuda rough. And so you combine that with his, his recent form, he's got 4 top 5s since the beginning of May. And so I just think this is kind of a good low-key event for Rory to have a really good finish. And so, I'm going to play. I'm going to mix in. I don't see how you can't mix in Scotty and Xander. I am fading the 2 guys below. I think I looked at Ludwig, Aberg, and Morikawa, and I just think both guys who I've liked over the past couple of months, which when you look at their Sunday stats, they're both having trouble closing. Morikawa's last 5 Sunday rounds, he's losing strokes. And Aberg is even worse. His last 8 Sundays, he's losing 1.4 strokes per round. So those 2 guys at the bottom of the 10K are my fades. And I mean, even if you look, Xander's only 300 more expensive than Rory. So, I mean, that's really hard not to play him.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's kind of that Xander mold is right there in the affordable range. And like you said with Ludwig, last 6 Sundays, Ron, he's averaging -2 strokes gained, lost. Like it's been disastrous. I do have a Ludwig outright. I'm hoping that in light of Aaron Rye's success and overcoming the Sunday scaries, maybe Ludwig can get it together because I kind of really fancy his chances on this golf course. When you think about accurate power off the tee, man, like he's got it. Lately it's been a little rough, but maybe, that's kind of going to figure itself out now at a golf course that can kind of really suit him, like at the RSM Championship, where he completely demolished that entire field off the tee there. So if he can do another situation like that, kind of avoid messing up around the greens and then hanging on the Sunday, I like his chances. A lot has to go right though, but that's why he's $10,200 and not $12,400. So any inferences here on Scotty and Xander both having struggled here historically, with Xander only having a 6th place finish as the only top 10 of the 2 of them, but back in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like if I'm fading one of those top 3, it would be Scotty, probably because of that. He's been pretty average here in his 5 trips to TPC Southwind. So, yeah, I this is a place where course history, if you look, it's not correlated as highly as you might think, considering how long they played here. So yeah, I'm not trying to make too much of that. But I do think if you're looking for a reason to fade Scotty, for example, that would be pretty much the only thing I could stand on.
Yeah. And I just like the price of Colin and Ludwig. I like the course fit. You can really start going balanced as heck, but with lots of upside if you roll with them. You can play guys like Victor Hovland. If they do get popular, you can sneak in a Hovland there. You can sneak in a few guys that can potentially take care of business for you in the 9s. So those are going to be some of my names. I'm probably going to throw Cantley in there a touch. I think he plays well at golf courses. He plays well at. I think his strokes gained course history is probably one of the higher ones out there. And then Russell Henley, Ron, $9,000 flat, is extremely enticing to me. He's coming off the back of 2 consecutive top 10s in majors. Love this golf course for his accuracy. Love the wedge intensity that we're going to be seeing for him. And his short game is now the best part of his game. So it's not often a golf course allows him to have the ball striking that we're looking for. And I think we can see that from him this week. So let's see what he can do. Any guys you got in your mind for this 9K range?
So, yeah, there's three I'm focusing on here specifically, and I think you mentioned one of them. Patrick Cantlay is, after a really rough stretch here, he's rounding into form. You know, if you look at his last three starts, third at the U.S. Open, fifth at the Travelers, 25th at the Open. And, yeah, just, you know, runner-up here last year, you know, won the FedEx Cup a couple years ago. So I think he's someone that is trending upwards, and that's kind of what you're looking at here. There's plenty of interesting names, you know, when we get into the value range that, like, I mean, we got some really big names who are cheap this week, but they're kind of not trending the right way. And so it's, you know, it's kind of hit or miss and taking some chances with those guys. But I think you can feel pretty confident, you know, Cantlay, 4 guaranteed rounds here. So I do like him. And then two guys kind of at the bottom here that are interesting to me. I think Corey Connors at 9,100, you know, this is a course, like we said, where, you know, obviously his weakness is short game, specifically putting, and, you know, improving somewhat. You know, we've seen some pretty good finishes from him lately. But I think, again, this is a course you can get away with not being the best putter. And so, again, I think his ball striking acumen, you know, 6th here last year. So I do like Connors. And then, yeah, I mean, Russell Henley's a guy who, you know, I like playing him more when he's a little bit cheaper. But, you know, 9K, kind of plays his best on these Bermuda type courses. I worry a little bit about him off the tee. I don't think he's one of the guys who I can see, you know, cutting corners on these dogleg holes. But I think he's a guy that definitely has the upside to, you know, finish in the top 5 here.
Well, he's not a dogleg cutter. He is a clean shaven down the middle kind of guy. You know, he's just, you wake up and shave every morning and make sure you hit your 12 fairways of the 14 kind of thing for old Russell Henley, which, you know, got him to a 6th place finish here last year as well, along with Corey Connors. So interesting to see how those two kind of guys right next to each other, very similar kind of skill sets, with Henley actually offering a bit more upside on the short side of things, the short game side of things. So we'll see how that goes. But like you said there as well, Cantlay starting to round into some nice form after that 2nd place finish here last year in the playoff to the glove man. So we'll see how he goes this week. But in the 8th round, we got Tom Kim, Sungjae Im, Billy Horschel, rounded out by some Shane Lowry, Cameron Young, Aaron Rai, some ejectors from last week, some winners, some really good performers, you know, at a venue like this as well. We'll be eyeing out in Yates.
Yeah, I'm sure you might agree, but this range is one that I love. I mean, you have so many options here. You've got a lot of potential win equity here. You've got some course history guys here, like, for example, you know, JT, Billy Horschel are the top 2 players in this field, course history on this track. And so, yeah, so for me, I think, you know, Tom Kim is someone who's hard to get away from. He is someone who, like, if we're targeting approach, if we're targeting ball striking, you know, I kind of expect that train to keep rolling here. You know, recent approach play is one of the biggest things I look for building the model this week. And, you know, he just gained 8 strokes on approach in Paris at the Olympics. He's got a couple top 25s here. You know, did win at Sedgefield, you know, 2 years ago or so, which is another Bermuda track. So I like Tom Kim. I think Sungjae Im is probably going to be extremely popular this week. He finished 6th overall in my model, one of the hottest players on tour. I mean, if you look at the last, 3 months, he has 6 top 9 finishes. And so, you know, kind of led by his approach play, like he's gaining in bunches on approach. Great finish history here as well, 6th, 12th, 16th the last 3 years. And then you go right down to, you know, Justin Thomas. I know, you know, people have kind of wide ranges of thoughts on him and his play. And but when you come down to it, look, he's one of the best mid-iron players on tour. Even when he's been struggling, his mid-iron has still been good. And so never finished worse than 26th here. And he has gained, you know, his big weakness, obviously, with the putter. He's gained 3 straight starts. And so I think 8,400 is a very reasonable price for him. And so he's a guy who, you know, I'm kind of just banking on that upside. And I'll conclude with Sam Burns. I kind of love Burns this week. He's, you know, kind of been sneaky good If you look, 4 top 12s in his last 6 starts. His underlying ball striking data is pretty quality, and I think when I looked at his last 4 starts here at this course, he's gained over 11 strokes on approach, and so yeah, we all know he's excellent, kind of a long-term Bermuda putter. Lost in a playoff here in 22. So yeah, there's a lot of names to build around here. Even if you're playing one of the big 3 on top, and you can kind of mix and match, maybe even 2, maybe even 3 guys if you can fit in from this range. I think that's one of the ways I'll be building lineups this week.
Yeah, like you said, Ron, there are so many options in this range. Justin Thomas, great course history. Billy Horschel as well, kind of has flattered with some success at this venue in the past too. He's also showing up with some really good form lately. Taking a look at what Billy Horschel's been up to. I mean, with that second at the Open Championship, and then his pom-pom cheerleading capabilities at the Wyndham to get Aaron Rai across the finish line there were sensational in a 7th place finish himself. So he's moving in the right direction. He's really feeling it right now. He's $8,500. The long-term metrics for Horschel not going to really grade out the best, but if you're kind of taking a screenshot of stuff happening since the Open, things are looking good for him. So he's a great Bermuda putter as well. So we can see what Billy Horschel can get up to. And then Sahith Theegala for me. Bet him outright, got a top 20 on him, got the each way. We're going all in on Sahith. 2 13th place finishes at this golf course in his 2 appearances here. He tends to play okay on these golf courses with water hazards. He doesn't come across as a golfer with the way he plays as someone who's kind of strategically safe around these water infested areas, but he's played nicely at the Players. Harbour Town he's played nicely at. So these short positional venues, he can really dial it in. I think he's an underrated course management kind of a golfer. I think his awareness of how to play a golf hole is pretty solid. I mean, he is a ridiculously good chess player, so that should come in handy at venues like this. So we'll see what he can do. What is Aaron Rai's situation going to be, Ron? How popular is he going to be? Are people going to be off him? This golf course really suits his golf game. If he finished second, I think he would be very, very popular this week. Are people kind of ignoring that or going with him?
Yeah, no, I think his recent form, if you just dig into the data, it's going to be hard, not to play him this week. The one thing I did look at is he is not great on Bermuda surfaces, even with, some of his recent performances. I know that's the hard part, because he's turned the putting around so much that you almost can't rely on the past data when you're looking at stuff like that, because of the the improvement that he's made. So I have always, and again, there's probably not any data to back this up, but I've always kind of shied away from playing a guy the very next week after he's coming off, especially his first win, on tour. So we'll see if that kind of bites me this week or not, but I'm probably not playing him just because I think the upside of Burns and Thomas right around him, I think appeal to me a little more. So yeah, that's my reasoning for kind of maybe not playing him this week.
What about Shane Lowry for you at $8,000 flat? One of the more accurate drivers in this field. Plods along, gets his job done. Typically struggles with the putter on Bermuda, struggles with the putter in general, but a venue like this, once again, don't necessarily need that from your guy.
Yeah, and so here's the thing: he finished 7th in my model this week, and so I didn't mention him yet. I'm still kind of undecided on him, but yeah, he's got the 9th best course history here. He's got the best course history if you look at all the comp courses. So there's probably a list of about 6 or 7 that I came up with that I plug right into the rabbit hole. And best course history here when you combine those other kind of 7 similar courses. And so, yeah, even looking at strokes gained, ball striking, high water danger courses, he's 4th best. So, yeah, I think he's a guy that it's probably maybe not the best week to fade him. I think $8K is a really good price for him. So, yeah, I'll probably try to sprinkle a little bit of him in there.
Yeah, if I'm advocating for Shane Lowry, it's usually a good course fit. We'll see how it goes. I've never really had great success when I've been on him that much. The same goes for Wyndham Clark with $7,900. Him and Benny On both popped inside the top 10 for me as $79,000 and $76,000 golfers a piece. I think both have incredible upside. Sometimes can really let you down in a big way, but you know what? If you're playing a DFS slate and your guy sucks it up, rather suck it up all the way. I don't really care. You're not going to cash in a week like this if you're not inside the top half of the field. So these two dudes can really dial it in. I love Clark's just this enigma that everyone doesn't really like to play anyway. And he's thrived also, Ron. Harbour Town, the Players, when he was playing good golf, and Le Golf Le National. I think if you put more trees on that golf course, there, you'd almost imagine it as a venue that could replicate these kind of venues with shorter courses, bit more water intensive. And I think the final 3 rounds of golf that Wyndham Clark played in France was the best of anyone, matched by Scotty Scheffler and Victor Perez, who both finished 4th and 1st, so he's got some serious form going on. I think he gained 10 strokes on the field over the weekend in 2 consecutive rounds there, 5 apiece basically. So he's fun to watch. Benny On, when he dials it in on these shorter courses, he's top 20 in driving on courses shorter than 7,200 yards. So I love his ability to kind of just muscle out of the thick Bermuda as well. And he's had some high-end finishes this year. So I'm expecting another one from him at TPC Southwind. In the 7s, Ron, hit me with some names.
So this is kind of a dead range for me. And if you look at, like, a lot of these guys are struggling with their current form. If you look at strokes gained over the last 3 months, there's only 2 guys in this entire 7K range who are in the top 20. You got Davis Thompson and Bobby McIntyre. So, I mean, I agree with you on Wyndham. Bad first round at the Olympics, really came on strong as everybody saw those last 3. But yeah, I just, him, Fitzpatrick, Jordan Spieth is right there. You got Max Homa, Will Zalatoris at the bottom, like some really big names who just have not played great golf recently. And so, yeah, this is a range where it's really hard for me to get excited about literally playing anyone. I think for me, Brian Harmon is a guy who, I think, he ranks highest out of anyone. He's 20th in my model out of this entire range. So he's someone that I think I will be playing. He kind of, maybe not finishing the top 5 or 10, but he's kind of always hanging around. And so giving himself a chance. I think, Max Homa had an awful course history here before last year. Finished 6th here last year. And, he hasn't played much recently, so my thing is, I think I'm going to play him a little bit just to kind of capture some of that, low ownership, which, I think, I don't know what you're seeing, but I expect it to be pretty low for him this week. He rated horribly in my model, so I'm going to assume he's probably rated pretty bad for everyone. And so, but you're looking at 7,500 here. And so you're getting 4 guaranteed rounds. It's not like, oh, he might miss the cut. Should I play him? You're getting 4 rounds. He's a guy that cares. He's going to be out there grinding. He's going to be out there. If he has a bad round, he's going to try to figure it out. He's going to, so, he's a guy that when I know I'm getting 4 rounds from him, he's a guy who I think is a good adjuster at trying to figure out what's going on with the swing. And so, yeah, and that's the thing, it's the ball striking that has kind of left him recently. And so, but at 7,500, I'm going to get some of him. I think Davis Thompson, when you look at, kind of his recent form, his year-long form, he's got 4 top 12s in his last 6. He's a top 5 total driver in this entire field. So I think Davis Thompson is a guy who I'm going to be playing at 74. I think Akshay, another guy who's struggled his past couple events. I think that's a lot of upside there, sitting there at 73. And yeah, I'm going to be playing a little bit of Will Zalatoris as well. Obviously he won here, had his first tour victory here, finished 8th the following year. And so, yeah, pretty much across the board, he does not rate well in literally anything but course history and ball striking on water courses. But I just think, man, again, getting 4 guaranteed rounds, we all know what kind of ball striker he can be. And so I think Will Zalatoris, the upside there is pretty immense at 7K.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that you mentioned Willie Z, because he's a very risky play. But Ron, I think he's healthy now. Officially, he's mentioned in the presses, he has 0 doubt with his back. Now he's comfortable knowing that his back is 100% healthy. I think he said he's now getting his ball speed back to 180 miles an hour, because that really does help out of the rough, in instances like this. When this ball settles down in this thick Bermuda, you want to be able to muscle it out there, and 180 mile per hour ball speed can help you with that. And it translates to your other irons too. So the biggest issue for him has been the putter. And at a golf course like this, where the putter, can lose you a few strokes, but you can ball strike this place to death, I'm a big fan of Willie Z, and I think he'll be low owned showing back up to a venue that his only win has come at, so I like his vibes entering the week for sure. So we'll see what he can get up to. And then I'll second your Akshay Bhatia take at $7,300. I think he's going to potentially, if he shows up the way we know he can also ball strike this place to absolute pieces. So $7,300 for a guy that, took apart the Valero on a ball striking front, basically in Scotty Scheffler-esque way. We can see that happening again in a big time field. So let's dive into the sixes here, when I'll start off with a Cameron Davis and let you chat about everybody else. Cam Davis at golf courses like this really, really appeals to me. I fancy his chances kind of, on these layup venues, and his tee to green game has been really exceptional the last few tournaments prior to the Wyndham, where he's typically played very well. And you know what? If you played well last week, I will recognize that. But if you played poorly at the Wyndham, in that weather and all that stuff, I'm not going to overreact to it that much.
Yeah. I agree with you completely on Cam Davis. Like, if you remember just last week on this very show, we talked about how, the improvements he had made. Obviously, he won the Rocket Mortgage. So, yeah, I'm not going to, I'm not happy for him. But, him missing the cut last week, I think that's going to kind of push ownership down a little bit. And so, I think he's a guy we've talked about plenty as well on these kind of courses where, not super long. I think this is a pretty decent course fit for him. My favorite two plays pretty much by far down here, though, are going to be Eric Cole, 6,700. I think he's another guy who, we've seen on plenty of Bermuda courses. We've seen on a lot of high water danger courses, obviously runner up at PGA National last year. So I think he's a guy who is a pretty decent value, can get really hot with the putter. I think, off the tee, if he can, this is where my issue with him is, if he clubs down a little bit to kind of keep it safe, very wild off the tee at times when he has driver, which leaves him now with longer iron approaches into these small greens. So it's a little bit of concern there, but I think, again, 4 rounds from him. I do like him. And my favorite play, who rated in the top 20 in my model, 17th overall, 6,600, Ben Griffin, Bermuda Ben. I think he's taken that nickname away from Sam Burns a little bit. Thrives on these types of courses. Gained 8 strokes on approach at the Wyndham last week. And he's kind of turned into a really good short to mid iron player, which obviously is going to play well at this course. Like you said, 125 to 200 yards. Those are the key ranges. So I think Ben Griffin at 6,600 is a really good value. And just when you're looking for scoring, 6th on approach for me, best putter in this field as far as my metrics go. So, I'm loving Griffin as my favorite play down here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very popular. So beware of the popularity of, and it's rightfully so. These are the two guys that are playing substantially better golf than the majority of other people over here. Feel free to toss in a little bit of Nick Dunlap if you're in the mood for random volatility, but don't go overboard there. Some other names I have highlighted in the bottom of the $6,500 range. Ron, do you want to take a crack at any? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys, $6,400 or less that I've highlighted. Any guesses where they are?
Let's see. If I had to guess 3 for sure, I would say Victor Perez. I personally, I think Austin Eckert's a great value. I don't know if he's one of yours. I would also definitely Seamus Power.
Yes.
Any of those 3?
2 of those 3, I've just added Victor Perez to make it my 6th guy as well. I don't know why I didn't have his name checked yet either. He's been playing great golf. EVR, another name. So I've definitely got Eckert, like you mentioned, Seamus Power. Then I'll throw some Patrick Rogers in the mix. Patrick Rogers has been steadily just finishing top 30. And if you $6,100 can give me a top half finish in this field, I'll take it. We're looking for bottom of the barrel individuals here, and I think he's definitely going to be in play for me as well, along with Seamus. And Mackenzie Hughes, if you're looking for a ball striker, he's not your guy at all. But if you're looking for the best putter in the field that's got the 70 best golfers on the PGA Tour, he is your guy. And if you're running one single model, waiting ball striking, which we've preached all show long, that you have to have good ball striking. But when you are the best putter and the 5th best around the green, you can make up strokes in other ways. And your upside is definitely capped. But man, if he gets that putter rolling and starts just saving pars and rolling in birdies, chipping in for eagles every now and then, you never know what can happen at a $6,200 price tag at very minimal ownership because of that poor ball strike. He's the 20th best golfer total strokes gained in 2024 in this field. When it comes to median, not averages, like his bad rounds aren't included. It's he's like 50th of the last 100. He's 20th in this field. So I love his chances, and he's always low owned and makes tons of birdies. So those are my guys. I'm a fan of the bottom of the range there. You can really go stars and scrubs heavy here, starting with Ludwig and Colin essentially in my book. So that'll be how I kind of build my rosters this week. Who is your favorite golfer south of, let's go, $8,500 south?
So I'm going to cheat here a little bit, and this is only because I completely forgot to mention this guy who I know I said I liked a lot of guys in the 8K range. This guy might be my favorite, actually. So I apologize for skipping him the first time and for cheating a little bit in the game here. But can you guess who it is? He's just a little bit above 8,500.
Tony Finau.
So if you look at Aaron Rai from last week, we saw what he did build up. We saw he had multiple. I think he had 4 top 10 finishes leading up to last week, and obviously he wins the Wyndham, takes him over the finish line, gets his first PGA win. If you look at Tony Finau's last 2 months, okay, 18th, 17th, 8th, 3rd, 5th, 12th, and it's just green everywhere. And the key thing, though, just like Aaron Rai, putting had drastically improved. If you look at Tony Finau, his last 4 measured rounds, he's gained at least 1.7 strokes putting per tournament. And so, again, I'm looking at his overall numbers, his ball striking, second best approach player in this field. You combine that with his recent form. I think this may be a week where Tony also can kind of, take it to that next level and maybe capture a win here. And I took, his odds dropped on the betting board to 45-1 this morning. And so I happily gathered that up. And interesting to see what he can do this week.
I love it, Ron. That's the thing, is he's gone to that claw, and I think he's lengthened his putter a touch after cramping over it a lot. So that's evidently changed. When there's significant improvement on the putting after significant changes, that's valid. Like when you just have random spike putting weeks, that's a bit more difficult to predict. So you can expect potentially Tony to keep that putter rolling. I fancy his chances too. I'm going to say my favorite guy south of $8,500 is Wyndham. I just think, he's like the new Patrick Reed of the PGA. Everyone hates him because he's got his foot in his mouth every now and then, but he's a really good golfer when he's playing his best golf. And you're not going to find many guys in this range that can routinely close out tournaments like he can when he's in the mix. And I think Scotty Scheffler ended up breaking him when he kept finishing second to Scotty. I think he finished second to him at the API, second to him at the Players, and then third to him at the Harbortown RBC Heritage. So right after that third defeat there in the battle, I think he kind of just lost the plot, and he seems to have found it a bit again. So I've got big high hopes for Wyndham Clark. I bet him top 5 at plus 850. Lots of love for Wyndham this week, and we'll see what he can do there. So yeah, let's go. RIP to the Vikings fans there with JJ and Addison. I've got my Sam Darnold jersey as a Jets fan. I can sympathize. I can empathize with you guys. Got the lighting in purple for you guys too. So, good luck this week. Good luck this year for the Vikings fans. We're going down to Memphis this week and enjoying ourselves at TPC Southwind. So anything else we want to chat to the people about, Ron, before we get out of here?
No, we're all good. Got a few things coming on Betsperts Golf. Will be posted here in the evening. But yeah, I'm coming down the finishing stretch here. Really looking forward to digging into this Castle Pines course next week. It looks beautiful from what I've seen for the BMW next week. And so, we'll catch everyone later next week.
And before you guys freak out about an 8,000-yard golf course, when I came over from South Africa and came to Iowa, I didn't have to change my yardages on my golf clubs at all, because I came from Mile High City of Johannesburg and came to yardages over here in Iowa. And the humidity and the sea level pretty much offset it entirely. So it's about a 10% difference in distance. So if you take 8,000 and you minus 800, we got about a 7,200 yard golf course, technically speaking. So don't get too freaked out. It's going to be a fun week with the ball flying everywhere, and guys might not figure their stuff out. So that's going to be a fun week, and it's going to be guys looking to get to Tour Championship on a very different golf course. We need more. The playoffs need to be at different golf courses, Ron. This same routine crap at in Memphis is not what we're looking for. Anyway, you guys came here for picks, not opinions. Let's get you guys out of here. And as always, pivot your face off because it's going to get watery this week. Take us away, Andy.